TV people ready?
Yep, she's ready.
Time having arrived, I call the meeting of the school committee to order for today, December 17, 2019. Please stand and salute our beautiful flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome members of the school committee, the visitors, the public, friends and fans. Today is our last meeting of this wonderful 2019 year, and the last meeting for some of us, some briefer, more briefer than others. Is that the briefer?
Yes.
You got to be careful because you're in school. You got to make sure you pronounce things properly. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad we're here today as representatives of the people who are friends and families of this school system, and I'm proud to call myself a member of this body. And again, it's going to be something. This is going to be one of the things that I will miss in this short tenure as mayor in this city. So let's go right into our agenda, since we do have a concert to go to right afterwards. We don't have any visitors, right? So, Mr. DiAgostino.
I'd like to make a motion that we move item 4 in the agenda up so that we can allow our state delegation who's here with us tonight the opportunity to speak, and then I know they have other things other events they need to get onto.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to move item 4 up. All those in favor? All those opposed? Again, I'd like to welcome the state delegation that's here today, Senator Brady, Representative Dubois, and Cronin. Welcome to the school committee.
So if you can come up to the main
microphone
table,
and
so we wanted to invite our state delegation here. Representative Cassidy is ill today, and I saw him at the city gala, and he wasn't feeling well on Saturday night either, so he's been sick. He would have been here. But I wanted to, on behalf of the Brockton Public Schools and the school committee, I'm sure will be able to speak for themselves and the mayor, and as the superintendent, thank you for the work you did on getting the Student Opportunity Act passed. I know that the governor 2 weeks ago signed it into law, but I know the hard work you spent on this. I know how much time you spent with former Superintendent Smith. And I know how much you got beat up on the Hill over fighting for this money, because obviously everybody fights for their own communities they represent, and everybody's trying to get more money for something. But you stayed strong on this for the last several years, and I just wanted to publicly thank you as the superintendent of the Brockton Public Schools on behalf of the Brockton Public Schools, our students, our teachers, our staff. We really want to thank you for your hard work with getting this act passed.
thank you.
President.
I greatly appreciate that you've taken this moment to offer us a bit of thanks here, but I also want to say that with this funding package, this was a great, great team effort. And I can go back to when I was very first elected, very early on. I met with the superintendent of schools, Kathy Smith, at the time. Over the course of the last several years, every school committee member has devoted their heart and soul into the funding for our schools, the needs of our schools. Mayor Carpenter before us, Mayor Rodriguez as well. I look to some of the people in the school department who oftentimes are doing things that people don't see, our teachers, our families, our parents. I'm going to give an extra shout out to Aldo Petronio, who found himself sitting in the Ways and Means office with us and for meetings with Chairman Peisch on more than one occasion, and there is no one that knows the details of the school funding issue better than Aldo. So, but I want to say it's been my pleasure I'm glad we finally pushed this over the finish line, but there will always be more work to do, and I know I can speak for all of us when I say we will continue, because every step of the way, everything isn't necessarily always smooth, but we will continue to the fight for our Brockton school students. All of us, we're all Brockton High, Brockton school system graduates, grades 1 to 12 for me. I'm not sure. I think everyone else the same. And so we are particularly proud of this school system and want to see it grow and develop and thrive in the way that it should. And now with this funding, I hope it can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Rodriguez and Superintendent Thomas, and each member of the school committee for inviting us here today to celebrate with all of you our victory. And it is a very big victory, a victory for us, victory for our city of champions, and a victory for each and every one of the children that go to our Brockton Public School system. I went to Brockton Public Schools, as Representative Cronin had said, K to 12, graduated from Brockton Public Schools. A little different than the rest of my delegation. I graduated from Brockton Public School in 1991 when the funding for public education was in the gutter, kind of like it is today when you look at the ratios. And I remember back when my cohort in the groups that I was in school with, a lot of my friends that really shouldn't have dropped out of school and had, I would say, future opportunities that were lessened because the state legislature at that time did not act. And they waited until there was a court case, and through the hard efforts of, again, Brockton parents and Brockton students, that court case came, and finally got funding that came into Brockton around 1993. So when I graduated, our class sizes were high, there weren't many extracurricular activities, the same type of child was going through the school system. And so when I became a state rep and I saw the same thing, and you know, I love the Brockton Public School system, but it is I have a different perspective, and it's a perspective that was developed going through a Brockton Public School system when I didn't necessarily think the folks that were making the decisions really cared about me and my cohort. And not for any lack of effort on their part. The teachers tried very hard. It's just when you're in a class and there are 47 students, it's very difficult for a teacher to really teach at the level that they're supposed to and get through to each child. So that's why when I did become a state rep, I was determined to make sure, as well as this delegation and many people up at the State House, that the student that I look in the face doesn't think that I just waited for a court case. So this was a big issue for me. I was really happy to see the students and the teachers and the school committee members and the faculty come up and lead the Brockton Kids Count campaign, which I have to say was wonderful, and I commend you. And I'm so happy to have really fulfilled a promise that really wasn't fulfilled by the legislature for me. And I'm really happy to be a partner with all of you in this now. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative. And I want to also say I went through the Brockton Public Schools. We didn't have full-day kindergarten back in the late 60s when I attended Brockton Public Schools, but I went through grades 1 through 12 and then went on to college after that, and I got in the insurance business. And later on, when I opened up my own business, I ran for school committee and had the honor to serve on the school committee back in 1996. And we had just come out of a good initiative, which was the Ed Reform Act. There was a lawsuit, started with our school committee member, Mr. Webby, went on to Mr. McDuffie, who served on the school committee with us, and then Mr. Hancock, suing the Board of Education because there wasn't the proper funding in the Brockton education system. And that was able to get initial funding for Brockton, which was great news. Then we worked with our legislator at the time. I moved on to the city council, and we were able to have a great state delegation that helped get funding through a lot of initiatives. We got 90% reimbursement back in those days. We built 5 elementary schools, first of its kind, higher funding than any other Commonwealth, any other city in the Commonwealth received, and that was great news for Brockton. But then, as Representative DuBois mentioned, we had a downturn. The economy went south. things were difficult, there wasn't enough funding for urban communities, and we were working diligently with our three colleagues here, and also Representative Cassidy. And Representative Cassidy, who did a yeoman's work as well, he worked under our great Senator Tom Kennedy, our former representative, who worked diligently to get funding for our schools with the Senator Creed and the whole rest of the delegation. I know Christine Canavan and Representative Cassidy and Representative Jerry Creed worked back in those days, and when we got elected to carry the ball forward, and it looked like things were getting really tough, and we worked very diligently, and thank God we have a good delegation here, and we work well with the leadership in the Senate and in the House, and they knew that the need was there for the funding, so they listened to us. And I want to thank our school committee, current and past, who are serving, and all our teachers, and Mayor Rodriguez as well. I think we graduated together in 1980, if I'm not mistaken. He still looks a lot younger than me, though. I have more gray hairs. I guess he might have
more
a little
hair
less,
than I do.
less hair. But we're very fortunate that we got a great team effort in our city council working together. Unlike what we hear out of Washington day in and day out, the fighting, we work together, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, to come to a common cause. And there was great leadership across the board working together to get this done. And it didn't happen yesterday. It took a lot of hard work to finally get done. And this is the highest funding since the Ed Reform Act of 1993 to the Brockton school system. And again, we still have to find ways we make sure the funding is there. There's an estimated increase of $100 million for the Brockton Public Schools, which is great news, but we still got to make sure the funding is there. The circuit breaker with special ed is huge for Brockton, our ASL program, and charter school reimbursement, which we all fought against the charter school coming to Brockton because it takes money away from our public school systems. And there was no need. You, as the good work you all have done, and our teachers, our test scores are above the state average. We didn't need to accept one, but they got around it because they included two other communities, and they combined the test scores of those three communities that brought the grade levels down below that average, and they snuck in the charter school, which has decimated funding from our school systems. So this initiative that's put forward is going to bring more school reimbursement from charter school reimbursement, which is huge for Brockton. So I want to thank you all for all the work you've done. I want to thank my colleagues in the State House, and we are fortunate because we do have a great relationship with the leadership at the state level. And the governor signed the bill too, which is important because none of us do it alone. So thank you for inviting us tonight, and we want to continue working very diligently to get more funding for Brockton schools. And I tell you, anywhere I go, everywhere I go in the Commonwealth, they say, how are they doing it in the Brockton schools with the diversity we deal with, people coming from different countries, and our teachers and our staff, and it starts with the leadership, and I want to congratulate you, Mr. Thomas. I've known you for many, many years of your own family. You are a great asset to becoming our new superintendent, and thank you for the school committee for voting for Mr. Thomas, because he, as well as us, are part of the school system, and it's a great new day in Brockton, moving the ball forward and continuing to move forward, and to our past superintendents, Kathy Smith and everybody else, but it starts back in the classroom, and our teachers. I'm so honored to be representing Brockton because our teachers are so well looked upon, and our staff and all the help that goes across the board. I tell you, everywhere in the Commonwealth, they are so amazed of how well our Brockton Public Schools do. So thank you for all the work you all do. And I'm just a part of a team here. We're just a small piece of the pie, but we're very fortunate that we finally got this funding put forward, and we still have a lot of work to do moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, folks, for coming in. Again, it's a great day for Brockton, and let's keep up the good work. And please continue to tell those people up at the State House that we still have that lawsuit on standby. So if they don't come through for us as we move forward, this thing is still coming. So they just need to know that. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And one last thing, I know we have a great concert, so I'm being brief, but we've got a great conductor in Vinnie McCrean. I'm great to see that he's still with us, but we're going to miss him because that's another great asset, and that's another thing that makes us a City of Chambers. Our high school band that we're going to see shortly,
Absolutely.
They are far and above number one in the Commonwealth, not just and beyond that in the country of
No
the United
question.
States. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Mr. Minicello?
I'd just like to say that It has not been easy these last years, and our state delegation have been great partners with the city and with our... Thank you, Mr. Gormley. Yes, we've had great partners with our state delegation. It hasn't been a fun few years around here. We know, we know where we've been, and hopefully a brighter future is going to be on the horizon. But you've been there with us, and we certainly wanted to make sure that you hear our appreciation, because all too many times people have no problem picking up the phone to give you a complaint, but we wanted to make sure that you knew that we do appreciate the effort, and we couldn't ask for anything more. Hopefully, they will produce, what, and follow through on the legislation. The funding is a big part of that. The question is, will they fund what they said they were going to do? As Mayor Rodriguez said. I also want to just point out the advocacy and the effort former Superintendent Kathleen Smith, who's worked with all of you, our state delegation, hand in hand, and also former Mayor Carpenter, who did an incredible job. We've had support on the city council through Mayor Rodriguez, now as mayor, but when he was a councilor, he's always been a huge advocate for the schools, and he's always been a huge advocate for students. And we appreciate that, Mayor Rodriguez, and we're glad that you're not going to be leaving us. You will, just in a different capacity, but you are a steady force, and we're glad to have you on the team, as you said. But again, thank you. You don't hear thanks all that often, and we just wanted to make sure that you know that we do appreciate what you have done, because like Superintendent Thomas said, the urbans hopefully are going to be getting the funding that they need and that they deserve. But certainly there's many of your colleagues that aren't too happy because their communities aren't going to be sharing in the same increases, so to speak. So thank you again for your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Minicello. I guess we're going to move on along with the agenda, because we have that beautiful concert set to take off momentarily. So we're going to move into the consent agenda. These items are usually taken collectively. Does any member want to take anything out of order? Mr. D'Agostino.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to take item C out of order. And let me just make sure there's not, yeah, that's it.
Motion is, go ahead, Mr. Gormley.
I'd also like to take item B out of order.
I meant to take item D too. Oh, well, nah, not tonight.
So B and C. Anyone else? A motion has been made, so that's in the form of a motion, right?
Yes, yeah, motion to take item C out of order. Do you want me to just do the other ones?
Do both of them.
Do both of them, all right. Item C and item B.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and seconded to take C and B out of order. All those in favor? All those opposed? So be it.
All right.
Do B first?
Yeah.
In the order of the...
Hey, I'm
Going
backwards, man.
alphabetical order.
No, I mean, because we can...
Right, so item B is the acceptance of the December 3rd Building Naming Subcommittee meeting, and that was a meeting where it was proposed by Brockton Police Detective Ernie Bell to name the court at Staff Gymnasium after Mr. Victor Ortiz, who is very special to me, and Mr. Thomas, who's our high school basketball coach here at Brockton High. And quickly about Coach Ortiz, he was the coach at Brockton High School for the varsity team and the JV team from 1983 to 2007. He guided the Boxers to 386 wins over that time, 5 self-sectional titles, and a state title in 1985. He was the Brockton High School, he was inducted into the Brockton High School Hall of Fame in 1980, sorry. That would be premature, Coach. In 2008. In the New England Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2009. And the Massachusetts Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame in 2012. And along with all of those things that go along with being a great coach, he's also been a great mentor and father figure to many young men who have come through the doors of Brockton High School, and including myself, Mr. Thomas, Detective Bell, many other people who have been successful coming out of this school. And we would like to recognize him for those efforts by naming the court after him. I think that he's very deserving of this. Mr. Thomas agrees. And we voted favorably to move that to this meeting tonight. So that is before you as a committee.
So I want to invite Mr. Ortiz to come up, please, and we can turn his microphone, he can turn his microphone on and say a few words, and actually, could we take a vote before?
Yeah, I
Is it
think
all
we
right?
should.
Is it proper to take a vote on this?
I think we
B?
should.
To
think we
make sure,
should.
make it official before we have Mr. Ortiz speak?
So why don't you, Mr. Gormley, why don't you make that in a form of a motion?
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we name the basketball court at Staff Gymnasium after Coach Victor Ortiz.
A motion has been properly made and properly second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Ortiz. And I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure you said something that he was important to you, basketballers. He was important to all of us because I was in this school when he was a teacher in this school, and he was important to all of us. You know, he was a guide to a lot of us in this school, and a lot of us owe him a great deal of gratitude for all the work you did, especially with the ethnic children coming through this school system. So thank you for that as well, too.
Thank you, Mayor Rodriguez, members of the school committee, and Superintendent Thomas. Quite an honor, something that completely caught me off by surprise. But I coached Brett, I coached Michael, and many other athletes. And to be successful in any sport, you have to have, number one, good athletes. And I was blessed with great athletes. I also had a guy who hired me was the late Jack Lehan. I would have never had an opportunity to coach in Brockton if it wasn't for Jack Lehan. I've worked with some athletic directors like Jack Sarson, Tom Pileski, John Booten, who really made the programs better. And of course, we had Tom Kenny afterwards, and today we have Kevin Caro, who to me is one of the most important parts of our educational system. I can say something about Michael. Michael and Larry Bird had two things in common. They were both white. They wore number 33. Neither one could jump. But big difference was Larry Bird was 6'9", Michael was 6'1" with pads on the shoes. But Michael was, he even shot like Larry. I have videos of Michael. I used to watch him shoot. I think he must have studied Larry Bird shooting. Except Bird had a higher percentage than Superintendent Thomas. But I said, these guys, all our kids, I was proud of them because I always said to them, you represent your families, you represent your school, you represent the city of Brockton, and you are the best that Brockton has to offer. Some of them didn't want to hear that from me. And, but I'm grateful for the privilege of coaching so many great athletes. And I also had the privilege of having some great coaches like late George McKay, who passed away last year, Bobby Bowen, Nick Lee, who played for me. Whew, that was tough. And Brett was one of my volunteer assistants. I had many volunteer assistants that came back. But I said, the one person that never got paid was my wife, Joanne. I was never home during basketball season. And for 31 years, we've been married 40 years. And, I was very fortunate that she was there every night, came to the games, never said a word. And she heard a lot of bad things about me. But you guys want to get to a concert. I'm very honored. Thank you very much. And happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. And your name will be forever remembered in this great institution called Brockton High. Go ahead, Mr. Pratt. Larry Bird. Larry Bird.
Okay.
I think he was being nice to him because he's a superintendent. Do we want to go to item C?
Sure. So, item C is, and annually we have to look at this. The Department of Early Education and Children has sent us the request to consider increasing our rates for extended day. So I know Mrs. Sullivan and Mr. Minicello also wanted to have some discussion about this before, we pass that as part of the consent agenda, so.
Yeah, I think that this should be put on for another evening when we have some time to go over the data and the numbers. That's what we normally do. No, procedurally, we never just throw it into the consent agenda without having any type of a discussion or review of the recommendations. So I guess I don't know why it's on there tonight without us having it at sort of a finance sub or something like that.
So do you want to make,
I would make a motion to just remove it and put it on for, to move it down to finance, so we can have a discussion prior, maybe to the next school committee meeting.
Second.
Can we just have Melissa come?
cut, did you want to
It
say
has to be
something?
approved by a certain date.
Yeah, I'll have Melissa come down.
Yeah, it has to be approved by a certain date.
All right, a motion has been
December
properly made
30th.
in second, so on the motion, we can,
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have discussion.
you can, no, you can come,
Come on down, please.
Yep.
You know what?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Melissa Shepherd is the coordinator of extended day.
Actually, this is due tomorrow.
So it's actually due on December 13th, so the state never gives anybody a lot of notice, I think.
I think you need to turn your mic on.
Yep.
Press the
Yeah,
button.
press the button.
That fancy little.
Typically, in my short tenure, we don't get a lot of notice, but I did receive the notice over Thanksgiving weekend that the state wanted to raise rates. And so if you're an independent daycare or even like a small franchise, you alone are making the decision. Where we're a part of the Brockton Public Schools, obviously it's a larger decision-making process. So the deadline was December 13th, and I asked for an extension for tomorrow, knowing that I wouldn't be able to see you before that. So we have until tomorrow. They will, if we do sign on, the incentive is that they will retroactive those voucher increases back to July 1st, which typically is about a $45,000 incentive for us, based upon the volume of kids that we have on childcare vouchers. So we can wait to discuss it. They try to incentivize daycares to sign on in a timely fashion so that it's a, sort of like, I believe it's so that it's an increase across all childcare providers, but it's certainly a choice of the
If we
committee.
waited to the second meeting in January, we'd have a subcommittee between that. I mean, how much would it impact us?
It would just be not having that sign-on bonus, they won't retroactive the increase to July 1st. But then I think at that point, we can take,
And what's the sign-in? If we said
Aldo, what do you think?
$45,000?
typically, it's based upon the number of vouchers, and it goes back like per child per day,
Yeah.
attendance from back to July 1st of this year, of 2019. So in past years, it's typically about that amount of money that we get back,
Mr. Minicello, would you like to rescind?
$45,000, is that what you're saying?
yes.
And is that money earmarked to help certain families, or what's that money earmarked for, Aldo, the 45,000? If we get that, or is it not earmarked? Yeah.
Not earmarked. It follows the rules and regs of the program.
Okay. So if we go forward this evening, what do you think we could use that $45,000 for?
Anything that's involved with the program, you can buy equipment for a program or any products, any items for it, we use it.
And then if we voted not to increase the fees, what is the negative consequence of doing that? Because there's always, every time we've done this, if we don't increase the fee by this nominal amount, there's a doom and gloom asterisk next to it. What would be the?
Usually what happens is the state at home, you don't increase it on the private side, the state will increase it on their side.
Right.
Holding off a month?
I mean, if we're gonna hold off a month and we're gonna do, and we're gonna actually go forward, I'd rather have the $45,000.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That we, you know, what is that saying? Bite our nose to spite our
Yeah,
finger.
no kidding.
So,
Would you like to rescind your motion to,
So this, what was,
I'll amend it.
yeah, so this is, I'll take this responsibility on myself. It wasn't the December 6th packet, but should have been put on in a finance subcommittee meeting, so I apologize for that.
Right. So I'll rescind my motion and then I guess make a motion, well, someone has to, I think, second.
can you second the,
Second.
motion has been made in second.
And then I'll make a motion to accept the nominal increase under the, understanding that by doing so, we shall be receiving an additional $45,000 as a bonus, which we can use for miscellaneous, oh, I'm sorry, for miscellaneous items within that category.
Second. Motion has been properly made in second with the conditions behind it on the motion.
On the motion, just a general comment, you know, as, again, as much as I think we're all, you know, not thrilled that we didn't have more time to consider this, at the same time, I just did some quick math. You know, I mean, I'm just comparing it to my own childcare rates that I'm paying, and it's still competitive and a little bit under, you know, what I'm seeing at some centers, so, you know, it's still not a bad deal. So, just my 2 cents.
Was that a favorable comment?
Yes.
We talked last year.
Yes,
I
we
brought to the committee last year that, you know, there are things that we try to do. You know, we take into consideration like long illnesses, we credit parents, or vacations, and any snow days, we credit the tuition back. So we do make efforts that a private daycare wouldn't, to try to ease the burden off our families. So I just want to put that out to the committee, you know.
So do you want me to go over the increase? That's, so,
So the committees don't, the committee members don't have the actual.
it's in the packet,
Okay.
just so people can hear it. So, so basically, the before-school rate, if you're just doing before school, it goes up 32 cents a day, or $1.60 per week. If you just have your child in the after-school program, it's 67 cents a day, that's $3.35 a week. If you have your child both in the before and after-school program, it's 98 cents a day, that's $4.90 a week. And for the vacation and the summer rate, it goes up $1.35 a day during the vacation or summer rate, and that's a total of $6.75 a week. So that's the rate increases.
I mean,
It's expensive, because it's expensive. Massachusetts is a very expensive
Yep.
place to live, as we all know, and it affects housing and childcare and food costs and everything, so.
Anyone else? A motion has been made in second. All those in favor accepting C? All those opposed? Are you in between, Mr. Diego?
oh, sorry, no, 4.
All right, now can I get, I would like to entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Motion
Minus
to
the two
accept.
items that we just took out of it. A motion has been properly made in second. All those in favor? All those opposed? The consent
Thank you very
agenda
much.
is accepted.
Thank you. Good luck.
Do we have anything as communications goes? We do not. Now I'd like to turn the meeting over to our newly minted superintendent of schools.
Thank you,
Michael
Mayor.
Thomas.
We do not have our student tonight. They are all participating in the concert coming up at 7 p.m. That's tonight and tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, our holiday concert. So hopefully people can join us tonight and also come out tomorrow night as well. A couple of quick updates, because I know we're heading to the concert. An update on the MSBA. We're moving forward with the new roof at the Huntington. The architect is working with Dr. Cobbs and Facilities Director Ken Thompson to put the design together, and that should be going out to bid probably sometime in early March to get us a new roof at the Huntington School, probably sometime in the late spring to the summertime. Unfortunately, the North SOI, Statement of Interest in North, did not get approved. We were strongly encouraged to apply for North next year, but we are going to work with the city council and the CFO on the city side to do an in-house renovation of North to get moving quicker. And we'll put out to bid the major things that have to be done at North, like an elevator, the asbestos abatement, the sprinkler system, those major things, and then the cosmetic work, just like we did at the Barrett Russell, would be done in-house. That would require us to go to the city council for funding. We would have probably had to come up with about 8 million if we got into the MSBA. Our share would have been about 8 million. I think it will be about 4 if we do it in-house. And also, it would be, probably have the school back online within 3 years rather than 6 years. And then that way we can switch our focus to Brockton High School. So the applications for major renovations or new schools, that comes out on January 8th. We'll have to go in front of the city council to get permission. First, we'll have to have permission from the new school committee. I'll have the application ready probably in February. We'll go to get a vote from the school committee to allow me to submit the application for a renovation of Brockton High School. Then we will go over to the city council and ask their permission to submit the statement of interest. That way, it has to be done by April 8th is the deadline for the 2020 statement of interest for renovation. So that's my proposal, how we move forward with the MSBA. I don't know if there's any questions about that.
I think we're going to have to meet and have conversation with the city council, and certainly Mayor Sullivan. But I would like to tonight request that Mayor Rodriguez be the point person for the city council on this project. A, he's a member, a former alumni, as we both are, of this school. B, he, as far as I'm concerned, will always be a member of the school committee.
Yeah.
And I just
I'll be
think he
coming
would
to the
be
meetings
the
on a regular
perfect
basis
point
for the food.
person. So, yeah, there we go. And, yeah, and that he would just be the right person, I think, on the council to be our go-between. And, you know, I would invite you and hope that you would do that.
Mr. Menicello, you'll be happy to hear that we are going to turn city government a little different than we have been doing it in the past, where there's going to be a real cross-pollination between the city council, the school committee, and the mayor's office. I think we're going to work together as never been done before, because our cause is basically the same. As you know, I've said this many times, the city goes as our school goes. So I think it's important for us to understand that. And you're going to get the collaboration and the cooperation from the city side of things for us to work together to make sure that the city functions as one unit. And I think we're going to do that.
Wonderful.
Any other questions about? Okay, so, and then, I talked to Mayor Rodriguez and Troy Clarkson and Aldo, so we'll be getting an architect for North, get a price tag on it, then sometime probably in the summer, we'll be going to the city council to look for the funding for that. And then we can start moving forward with the design and a renovation for North, but also at the same time, I'll be working on the application for Brockton High School. We also, and I want to thank the mayor for this, there is an MOU, as you receive in your packet, last week for the school department taking control of the Shaw's Convention Center. So I would like to request that, that maybe 2 members of the school committee can sit down with the mayor before he leaves office. And I think there are a couple of interested city councils that want to sit with us so we can hash out the MOU and get moving on it before the end of the year. So, if I don't know if Mr. Menicello, you want to...
I'd love to do it, and I'll poll the school committee and see who else might be interested.
Yeah, I think it's basically a no-brainer in the sense. We've got that beautiful facility right here, technically on the campus of this school, that provides that could provide a variety of programs and services to the students in the community in the sense. We've tried various methods of managing that place, and it hasn't really worked out all that well. We know what the damages that were left by individuals that had it last time, because the the love isn't the same that we would have for our own facilities in the sense. And I think it's another one of those no-brainers that, that the place will go where it should go in terms of working for our students and families in this, of this system, and also continue to be available for the community for our community needs in terms of, when a nonprofit organization needs to use the facilities for a fundraiser or whatever, that it's still available for the community. So I thought, we, sitting down talking about this, thought it would be a no-brainer. That's the most sensible thing to do in terms of moving forward. But we're also moving with the DECA.
With the store.
With the store, moving it to
The
the
old rock
stadium
store.
itself, where, we've talked about this, I think that program could become a bigger program where we can have our own Brockton High store, functioning, selling all kinds of programs and activities. So I think it's a good thing to have for the community. Mr. Matt, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to thank you for pulling this MOU together, and whoever sits down to look at this, please look at the language very carefully to make sure that there are no sort of gray areas whatsoever. I looked at this, and there are a few things in here that I think, and Michael, I can give you my notes, or Tom, I can give you the notes that I have here, so that would just clarify, because I think we're joining, we're going into a partnership, and I think it's really important that each partner understands what their roles and tasks are, and so that the language is not ambiguous in nature, because this is an alternative revenue source for the Brockton Public Schools that can help community schools and can help reduce tuition to the students who come and do stuff at community schools, and the curriculum that can be developed for the Shaw Center is boundless. I mean, it's just swirling through my head the number, what can be done, June, to curriculum for the Shaw Center. So,
Yeah, and it's important for us to start with Aldo and the mayor
yeah.
to make sure, because, again, you want to make sure that it falls under community schools, and
Right.
the Department of Ed has no questions about education money going to a convention center. So that's what we got to make sure, that the MOU is clear and worked out. So, again, but we want to work it out pretty
Yeah.
quickly, so.
I mean, it's a good MOU. I just, it's like anything else, first blush, first draft, and just to make sure that everything is, there are no gray areas. And thank you again,
Yeah.
Mayor, for doing this. I think this is really important and a good first step in really bringing some connected learning curriculum to the Brockton Public Schools.
I think one of the things that it will also do is put some bodies into that building that we are in dire needs of.
Yeah.
Because the place is abandoned basically on a regular basis, but if we can move community schools into that property itself, then it's functioning as an extension of 43 Crescent Street.
The offices
And I
would
think it
move,
would be an ideal thing to do. And the long run is that we basically look at it and said, look, the physical plant is still the responsibility of the city, but the day-to-day operations will be totally run by by community schools. And in terms of responsibilities, if something major happens with the building, it's still a city piece of property, and the city will come forward and do what needs to be done. I mean, we still have some things to do because the air conditioning units aren't working. So we have to fix those things before the summer rolls around. We were going to do that anyways, no matter who takes over the facilities, but I think it makes more sense when it's another city entity taking over it versus a private from somewhere, because we've tried that a couple times and it hasn't really worked out all that well.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
And then lastly, under my report, I'm going to bring up Mr. Vincent Macrina. So we're going to recognize the school committee, myself, the mayor. I want to recognize Mr. Macrina for his 48 years of service to the Brockton Public Schools, and most importantly to the Brockton Public Schools Music Department, which it's an amazing job that he's done over his 48 years. I remember Mr. Macrina when I was a student here in '87, but just how as the school has changed and students and kids have changed and technology has changed, one thing that has always been steadfast is how amazing the band is. And as the faces of Brockton High changed, so did the band members. And that's what makes us so proud of the band, that it represents the student body at Brockton High School, and that was able to grow under the same man that made it all possible 48 years ago and put it all together. And there's people, I could not play an instrument if my life depended on it, but I know Kim Gibson played for Mr. Macrina when she was in school, and so I just want to thank Vinny for being here. We have a plaque for him, but obviously I'll open it up for anybody else that wants to say a few words. I know he has a concert to start in about 5 minutes, but I wanted to make sure we recognize Vinny, especially with the outgoing members on the school committee.
I think that Mr. Macrina is one of the most cherished instructors here at the high school. So many students have benefited from his guidance, leadership, and friendship. Personally speaking, my son Greg loved playing for Mr. Macrina. He enjoyed their discussions about everything under the sun in addition to music, but he is, I think, a better person, a better young man for spending time with Mr. Macrina. He learned discipline in terms of, making sure that practice is how you get better. And I think that what he shows students benefits them in all aspects of their lives, no matter what they do, because you can apply his lessons of hard work, dedication, follow through to all sorts of lessons in life, whether it be an instrument or a job or a relationship or with your children or with your spouse. So thank you, Mr. Macrina, for everything that you do. You are certainly a wonderful example for all of our students, and especially my son, Greg. Yep, perfect.
I just want to also include that I got the pleasure also working with many school board members. As a matter of fact, I was hired by the chairman of the school board, James Green, in 1972. He recognized that we were finishing the high school, and he came up and he said, we're increasing our productivity here at Brockton High School. No, we'd like to hire you. I was going to go back. I had thoughts of playing with Lawrence Rock. I already told you about that, but now this is where we started, and I couldn't think of any place else I want to finish. But I also want to say that the support, you can only be as good as what you have. The support that all the committees, all the superintendents, and all the school board have a great relationship, and some of the people that work in the school board, Fast Hoop, some people you don't remember him, some great people that actually helped us get and stay in tune and keep the program going. I just want to mention that it was just an effort by this community and the love of the community for a program like that. So I just ask you for one thing: don't ever, 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 ever let this program go. It would be the worst thing, as Kenny Feinberg calls it, one of the jewels of Brockton. And I just spoke to him. I told him over there, and he was going to try to do something for us. We're not really quite sure. But I want to thank for all your support, the president and all the mayors and all the administrators have done in past years, and Mike's been great, and everyone else. So thank you. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
So we have a plaque on behalf of the school committee and the superintendent with deep appreciation for your 48 years of excellent service to the Brockton Public Schools Music Department. Vincent Macrina, 2019.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to, go ahead, go up the front.
Great, thank you.
She's hiding in the back of the room.
So finally, we want to, our last piece on the agenda is to recognize outgoing school committee members and our mayor.
Oh, wow.
I want to thank the mayor for stepping in. He obviously stepped into a very difficult situation as for a mayor that died in office, Mayor Carpenter, who was on the school committee before he became mayor. But I want to thank you, Mayor Rodriguez, for stepping right in, which was easy for you to do because you've always supported the Brockton Public Schools. We're going to miss having you, and we're going to miss having you next to me in these meetings, but we really appreciated having you since early July. The city council made the right choice when they made you mayor, and we look forward to, obviously not saying goodbye. You're just going to be working with us again as a member of the city council, but we really appreciate what you did, what you do for the Brockton Public Schools, what you've done for the Brockton Public Schools for a long time, as mayor for the last 6 months, but also what you'll continue to do for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Bath, we want to thank you again for stepping in for Lisa Plant, who left us when she moved out of Brockton, and they brought back an experienced school committee member. I was thrilled to have you come back as we worked together closely under a previous administration, which was a little rocky, but one steady thing was always you. Always very supportive of the Brockton Public Schools, and no matter how rocky things got with the administration, you always kept the students number one, and that was what you always did, what you always continue to do. We really appreciate you stepping up. We know how much time it is to be on the school committee and to be an elected official, and how much time you put in on subcommittee meetings and talking to the people that you represent. But we really appreciate you stepping up for the last 6 months and stepping in and taking an active role, and also taking an active role as a lifetime member now of the, what is the MA?
Mass Association of School Committees. I'm going to be working with Melinda to do all of the paperwork.
As we really appreciate that, and happy to have you continue on that.
Chance to stay involved and represent Brockton at the other level.
Of course. But again, thank you so much for coming back to us and serving with distinction as you always did. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do them all together.
So this one is special to me because I had this young man who worked for me back when he was, I think, 17 years old. So 18, yeah. So he worked the first basketball camp that I founded, and Mr. Gormley worked for me back then, so I knew him as a young man, and now know him as still a young man. But always a champion for Brockton kids, as he obviously is a Brockton kid. How hard he worked for every student, especially the students that are disadvantaged. He goes above and beyond to make sure kids participate in extracurricular activities, and he goes above and beyond to make sure the kids that can't afford to participate in extracurricular activities, to make sure they know they get what they need so they continue to be a part, but also a champion of education to make sure those kids know the importance of getting an education, not only being athletes. So he spends a lot of time on that as well. So Mr. Gormley, you served from 2016 to 2019. We're really going to miss you. We appreciate how much work you put in, and what you do for Brockton kids, and in support of the teachers, being a teacher yourself. We really appreciate what you've done over the last 4 years, and we're going to miss you. I know you're not going to go away because you're always around, but we're going to miss you being a part of the school committee. We really appreciate all you've done. So thank you.
Oh, that's a good, here we go. No, yeah, sit down.
Yeah,
This is like Butt and Jeff, here we go.
Joyce, come on in. Well, everybody should. The whole committee? I'll get them back.
Yeah, let's shorter. Whenever you kneel down, we don't need to with impact.
Yeah, I know.
This is on tape.
Sorry, 1 second.
Gotta get the wide angle lens.
You run out of time.
No, I was prepared that one, but it's a lot All right. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Just make sure. One more. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. And Mayor, that is the end of my report. Thank you all.
Thank you. Motion to accept the superintendent's report? All those in favor? It's second. Do we have any unfinished business? Anything we want to bring up from the past? Anything we want to bring up in the future?
Gala was phenomenal the other night at City Hall.
Yes.
Incredible
Thank you, Mayor.
function.
Thank you, Mayor, for putting that together.
That was a lot of
good
fun.
time.
That was a lot
really-
of fun.
It was very well done. It was
Very
excellent.
well attended.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, I think I was a little worried about the fire department there for a second, but, because there was a lot of people in that place, but it was pretty good.
Eddie Williams was having fun, so he.
It was a lot of fun.
So it was nice how we had different branches of the city involved. I mean, we had the JROTC helping out, we had Teen Challenge working with us, with the catering, so it was nice, it was just having the whole community there. It was a beautiful night, and we need to have more of those nights, I think.
You know what?
It was definitely a fun night.
That is the one thing I've heard from everybody. And you think it's coming as a form of a complaint or something, but most people would say, when can we do this again? When can it be done again? And I thought, the entire city is to be congratulated for the fact that we came together, city government, kids. We had a ton of kids from the school system up there helping us out, both in setting up and like you said, the JROTC receiving, as hosts of the event and escorting people in and out. It was a great time. It was a great time, and we should all be congratulated for participating in something like that. Do we have any new business? Anything that you want to share with the group? Anything I think we're a little late for the concert.
I
Go
know
ahead.
we're a little running a few minutes late for the concert. I just wanted to say, Mr. Bath, it's been a pleasure working with you and getting to know you, and we look forward to working with you in the coming years as representing us at Mask and working on other projects with the city. So definitely it was a learning experience. So you brought a lot to the table, and we appreciate that. Mr. Gormley, it's been a pleasure sitting beside you for the past 4 years.
Likewise.
And thank you so much for your service. One of the original cowboys. Mr. Gormley, Mr. DiAgostino, Miss Plant and I named them the Cowboys. So we will miss you, but I'm sure he's still going to stay involved.
I have all of your phone numbers.
Oh, we know that. We know that. But thank you so much for your service, and we wish you luck. And we know you're definitely going to stay involved. So we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Thanks.
Thank you.
There's some great people in this city. Do we have anything else? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just again wanted to thank Mr. Bath for his service. It's been great working with you and getting to know you. And like I said in my email to you, your passion for education and for Brockton you've really left that impression of how impassioned you are about this city and our education in the city. And Mayor, I want to thank you for, like has already been said, stepping in and taking the role that you've taken on and being a part of this committee. And it's been actually nice to get to know you. I hadn't really had that chance prior to the last 6 months, so it's been a pleasure. And then Mr. Gormley. I guess the Cowboys are retired. But I want to thank you because you and I have worked on a lot of things together. And, we've some things we're able to accomplish and some not so much. I know we had, when we first were walking our wards campaigning together, we had a whole list of things, and then the party was over pretty quick when the budget numbers started to come in that first year. But we got some of it done.
Some big ones.
Yes, definitely. So, but I appreciate the opportunity to have worked with you and the things that we've been able to do for the district. And also appreciate the friendship that we've developed as well, so.
I'd also just like to say, Richard, I'm so happy that you joined us for these last few months. You certainly make the school committee look a little smarter with your well-versed, yes, speak for yourself well, with your knowledge of education. You are certainly top-notch, and we appreciate that. Mayor Rodriguez, you've been nothing but a friend to this committee since you came on board. Like Mark said, it's really been nice to get to know you in a different capacity. You've always supported kids, but I really enjoy your personality, believe it or not, which we don't really get to see that much.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, when you're on the city council, it's been wonderful, and I really admire the way you have served these last 6 months. You haven't just filled the spot. You've really been extremely active. You've gone out of your way to accomplish, certainly more than a handful of excellent things that are going to benefit the city. So no one can say that you just rode the position. You worked the position, and you've done some really good things. And Brett, we are going to miss you, our athletic expert, sports entrepreneur. I mean, everything that goes with sports hand in hand, Brett Gormley is all aware of. I'm going to miss all those emails and texts about, MMA and all of. Yeah, there you go. See, I don't even know. He's our resident athletic expert, so I'm going to miss him. But he'll be around to guide us through all that good stuff. But you've been wonderful to serve with, and I'm glad to have gotten to know you and call you a friend. So,
Mr. Bath?
I'd just like to thank the school committee and the executive team and all of the teachers and everything. It's been a joy and a pleasure to be back. I'm a little sad to leave, but I'm now going to have Tuesday nights free, and but I'm not going to venture very far. And there's one thing I really did want to say to the principals here. No matter what kind of hand they were dealt, no matter how bad the situation became, and to June and all of your other teammates, June, you stepped up to the plate and you did it, and you made a difference. So it just shows that, when we have faith and hope, you guys are the hope that we all recognize. And Brett, Larry Thomas, but you can play on my team anytime. Yeah, Larry Bird Thomas, but you can play on my team anytime, Brett. I enjoyed working with you. You're an amazing young man. You're terrific. And the same goes for everybody here. And Moses, we go way, Mayor, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
It's perfectly.
I've known him for 25 to almost 30 years, so I can say that.
Absolutely.
We go way back, and so I want to thank you for really stepping up. You're a great man. I love you.
Excuse me. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Bath, Mr. Gormley, and Mayor Rodriguez. And isn't Brockton lucky to have people like this that are so, attuned to the education of these children? The administration, all the way down to principals and students, are lucky to have people like you working for them every day.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, I apologize. I should have mentioned this a few minutes ago, but I also wanted to mention Ms. Plant, who, she left us earlier, and since we're kind of talking about the members who are departing, I believe her and Joyce had another nickname. You guys are the nickname people. You gotta referring to us as the Fab Four. We all got elected together the same year, so that we came on together, and then there were two left from that election cycle. But anyway, I just wanted to mention Ms. Plant and everything that she did, and like Mr. Bath, who stepped in for her, she brought a lot of passion for Brockton and educate Brockton Public Schools. So,
Mr. Gormley, go ahead.
Well, thank you for everyone for the kind words. Mr. Bath, I looked forward to working with you because I heard so much about your passion and your enthusiasm for what goes on here, and you didn't let me down. The first time I met you, we were at a charter school hearing, and you didn't pull any punches, and You were great, and that experience made me want to work with you. So I'm appreciative of the time we had together. And Mr. Rodriguez, I met you when I was a young man, like Mr. Thomas. I don't know if you remembered, but it's been great to get to know you better. As everyone said, your passion for the city and the school system really showed, and it's really appreciated. You got a lot done in your time, and I'm impressed with that. And I look forward to seeing what you're going to be able to do to bring us all together in the future. That's something that we've sorely needed, so I'm excited about that. Thank you to everybody again, but thank you to my wife who's here, Andrea, who has sacrificed a lot for me to be here. This is her first meeting. I made her come. But you know, she's spent a lot of nights fighting with the kids, getting them to bed, and making sure homework gets done while I'm at meetings and attending things around the city. So thank you. And you know, a couple thoughts that I really wanted to convey to everybody was that you know, this school system really does amazing things, and you know, I'm a testament to that because I was a kid who had no direction really. I mean, I had two good parents, but back then, you know, the neighborhood I was in, everybody was going every which way. But when I got here, when I got to this school, Coach Ortiz and Coach McKay gave me a shot to play basketball, and it changed my life. It gave me confidence, and giving a child something to be proud of is really a gift that costs nothing. And I think that that's something that the school system has done very well, and I encourage everybody to keep these programs going, like athletics and music. And another thing that I wanted to touch on too was one of the things that made an impact on my life that made me want to join the school committee and be an educator was the teachers that I saw in the community that lived here and that really cared about the city and inspired me to become a teacher. So teachers that are out there, I encourage you to stay active and get active in Brockton and live here. You know, Mike was one of those people I knew as a kid, and I looked at Michael as another guy, kind of looks like me, and you know, cares about the same things. And you know, you can do things without money to make students' lives better. So you know, keep doing those things, and I'll be around. Thank you.
Thank you. On my part, I just want to say how impressed I am with everybody that has, you folks have always put our kids first, and that means a lot to me. As someone who's actually a product of this system as well. I mean, I came from perhaps a total different background. I came to this school system speaking absolutely no English, and this system made me the young person that I became and the person that I've become since. So that's why I tell everybody, you know, listen, I have two loves, my family and my city, and nothing else matters. You know, you can't say boo about my family, and you can't say boo about my city either, you know. And as I said, our city is going to go as far as the school system takes us. And this is a jewel of Massachusetts, but it's because of individuals like yourselves that are here supporting these kids day in and day out, from the committee itself to the administration of the schools. Keep up the good work. And we're not going far. I mean, I'm just going from the first floor to the second floor at City Hall. But I just want to let you know that you will always have a friend in that city government for as long as I'm around, you know, defending this school system tooth and nail, because I believe in it, and I believe what it's been able to do, and it will continue to do for the kids in this community, in our city.
And Melinda reminded me of one housekeeping issue before we leave. We did not, we voted on B and C, but we didn't go back and vote the rest of the consent agenda in.
Yeah, we did.
Did we do that?
thought we
Did we
did.
miss? Huh?
Yeah, we did. I said,
Did you already?
I said minus, you know, B and C, but you know what? Let's
I
do
think
it again.
He might have.
I did say minus B and C.
Minus D.
Second.
All those in favor of doing
So
it?
now we've done it twice.
We have done it twice.
Melinda was worried about that, so, but she always tried to keep us on our toes, so
No,
better
but-
be safe than sorry.
Now let's
Better
go.
be thorough than sorry. Thank you.
Absolutely. Now let's go out there and support our kids. I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning and enjoying a beautiful concert, say aye. Aye. Motion, the meeting is adjourned.